Welcome to Be Insanely Great. Super excited to be starting today. I have never in my life would have dreamed that I would be doing something like this, but yet here we are, pushed by several sparks of inspiration along my journey and in my life. And so I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to be here and share some things that have changed my life over the past now 7-8 months, somewhere around there, and see how we all can potentially learn from it, maybe, if we're interested. If not, that's cool too. You can, everybody does them, right? And so, but for some of the things that I've experienced, I think it's just like there's no reason to me that I'm some special person that this can't be for everyone, right? And so I've gone through. I started this. Let me back up. So in terms of who is this guy? My name is Joe, by the way. So Joe, nice to meet you. And I started this, I'll call it a journey. I didn't even know it was a journey when it started. But about 7-8 months ago, I was in a place of kind of not really knowing who I was, not really knowing what I wanted to do in my life. And I was grateful to at least have the awareness to have that realization. And realize I was living in every moment in reactionary mode. Like I was reacting to everything around me. And that was just kind of the observation. All right, well, reactionary, is that even a thing? Like, what is that, right? Is that a mindset? Is that just even like a documented thing that someone's identified in terms of like the human psyche and mindset? And so, did a little Googling. Our good friend Google, who solves most of our problems these days, or gives us insight into things we wouldn't have had, and stumbled upon a few different articles, realized that, all right, maybe it is, whether it's a thing that somebody called clinically or not, I wasn't trying to get there. I was just trying to see, how do I get out of it, right? And so for what I was doing in that time, I stumbled upon this thing called abundance. And I'm like, oh, that sounds great. It sounds like it could be the opposite, maybe, based on what it says. So let me take a stab at that and see what I can do. Got into trying to see what is a mindset. I never, even before this, really understood what even a mindset was. Like, is that, and I was not aware to it. It was not a thing that I had any kind of insight into. And so, and then, of course, mindsets, and then kind of, how do you do that, right? I have a friend of mine who, I was planning on having a conversation with that weekend, and I know I would have told him about this, and we would have talked about it, and he would have said, well, so what are you doing to get into that mindset, if that's really even a thing? And I'm like, well, I know he's going to ask the question, so let me try something. And then I found a meditation, and self-admittedly, I would not be that person in the corner. This same person I was going to have the conversation with 3 years prior had told me, yeah, I tried this transcendental meditation. It was pretty awesome. And I said, that's great. Good for you. But I can never be that person to sit in a corner quietly for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, much less 3 seconds, right? So I always had to be doing something, and always had to be moving. And if I wasn't moving, then nothing was happening, and I wasn't achieving anything, and it wasn't productive, right? And so I got into this awareness of, okay, let me try this out. I don't know what it is, but I'm thankful to have some time on my hands to try and do that. And so it took me 3 days of procrastinating to get to a day in the middle of the afternoon in which I said, all right, now I'm going to do it. I got 20 minutes. I'm going to go for it. So I got this free meditation that was 20 minutes with abundance by Bob Proctor. And it was super soothing. It was beach waves and him speaking in his voice, and just kind of trying to put me into a different place. And I fully tried to embrace it with every element of my being. To my surprise, at the end of 20 minutes, my entire body was kind of vibrating like someone had plucked a tuning fork. I was like, whoa, this is incredible. What is this? I don't even know, but it feels like a feeling and a sensation I've never had before. And so then I said, all right, well, I don't know exactly what that is, but then I would say, let me try it again the next day. And so I tried it again the next day, and the same thing happened. And I was like, what is this? And so I started kind of getting into trying to figure out, what is this? Is this a thing? Is this what happens with everybody with meditation? again, went back to my good friend Google, and no one seems to have had something that they shared was like this. But that being said, everybody's, it kind of helped me qualify that everybody's experience is different and everybody's going to have a different experience, right? And so I think that is the overarching theme of that point. But even going further, I was questioning, what is this? What is this happening? Like with the meditation thing, it was, I was sitting there, I was in it, and I was getting these feelings, but I was still having these things race through my mind of all the things I'm stressed and anxious about and worried about and trying to get over and deal with in the day, and that we all have in our lives, right? And so it was really just a time to be without, in mindfulness mode. Thank you, Apple, for those settings for focus features. In mindfulness mode, trying to silence everything out and giving me an opportunity to be quiet and be still and be uninterrupted. But again, going back to my point, is like, what is this? What is this feeling? Like, is this real? Is there anything to this? Is there something that this could evolve into? And from there, I found an author and speaker and well-known figure in the world of trying to understand life, Joe Dispenza. Saw some of his videos on YouTube, and I'm like, all right, well, this guy's saying things like, to be in the present moment, you have to not think about the predictable future or the familiar past. And I'm like, wow, that sounds pretty insightful. Like, if you actually listen to it and apply it, right, and start catching yourself in little moments. And so I watched a few more videos, and then I was inspired enough to buy his book, so another full disclosure, like, I was not a reader. I had never, I never got into it. It was never anything that I enjoyed, even through school and growing up and becoming an adult. It was just never my thing. It was never anything I did. I despised having to do book reports over summer. I'm like, what teacher is so generous to have students, be forced to read who have no desire to do so? But whatever. I was like, all right, let me take it one page at a time and go from there.